Maybe you can stop hating me, stop bringing your mother back. Maybe we can start being father and son. You ain't my father, 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 you ain't my father.
What's up, everybody? The time has finally come. The vinyl reissue of Celestial Clockwork is now pre-ordering. It is double vinyl. Each piece of vinyl is a different color. So one gold, one is green. It also includes an additional song, the song Say the Word that a lot of you have been asking me for. So I put it on this piece of vinyl as a special edition. This song was only in small circulation of one of the original releases of Celestial when it went out to retail. So that is available on there. It's only 300 copies available, so get yours while they last. You can get it at illogic.bandcamp.com, and I look forward to you guys checking it out. It's gonna be really nice, and you know, it's something special, you know what I'm saying, for this classic piece of hip-hop history. So don't miss out. It's only 300 copies. Get yours at illogic.bandcamp.com. Peace.
I walked into a life of tainted dreams and gumball machines, nestled between the window seat and the drain of the mainstream, watching chaotic daylight stand stern on horizon's table, mock the moon with liquidated stars lapped from a ladle. Looking glass has limited view when you're trapped in a label. Stillborns turn action figures when they're stacked in a cradle. Thoroughbreds disoriented from running laps in a stable. Loss of direction sparks the search for a map in the fable. Leaves me to hunt for scavengers with eye patches and peg legs. Use planks to punish perpetrators so the seas will stay fed. I taught that snake in the grass to roll over and play dead. When the seed of the righteous is planted in belly of hybrid companions, they fled. With tarnished silver spoon and lips grasp, cherishing the John Hancock or some jock on your hips cast. Find your own lily pad. This is my territory to tell a story tailored in 3 pieces: flag, oxygen, and thesis. I'm nursed by the bosom of a Columbus compass since birth, walking the line of life and rhyme to see which will die first. It took me a while to realize the fact that I'm cursed with the given gift of anointing so only the truth can disperse. What's up, everybody? Beats and B-sides. Deep dive into Celestial Clockwork. We are here, you know what I'm saying? We are live and direct. And you know, it's good to be here with y'all. You know what I'm saying? It's good to, you know, get to the title track, you know what I'm saying? I believe that this song, Celestial Clockwork, it being the title track, is the foundation of this album, and in some ways the foundation of just how I looked at the hip hop industry at the time. You got to remember that this album was written in around 99, 2000. And we didn't put it out until 2004, but a lot of the same principles and the same issues that I thought were part of the problem that I saw with hip hop were still relevant and prevalent. So we are going to do a little dive into the lyrics of this song, and a little house cleaning next week. I'm going to take a break from doing the deep dives, and next week will be a 5-spot interview with my man Jay Rawls, and so I'll still be streaming, but we're going to break up the monotony a little bit, and get this interview with my man Jay Rawls, and he will be sharing a brand new unreleased song with us. So I hope you guys tune in for that. I do have a nice roster of 5-spot interviews that I will be bringing to you guys shortly, and I will be starting to rotate between doing 5-spot interviews and doing the deep dives into Celestial Clockwork. So I hope you guys are ready for the ride. It's going to be a dope rest of the year, as well as a dope next year. My new album, The Transition, is finished and mastered, so that'll be coming next year. And I'm working on an instrumental project, so it's going to be a lot of things that's coming, but let's get into these lyrics for the first verse of the title track of this beautiful album, Celestial Clockwork. What up, M Still? Thanks for joining. Let's jump in. So I walked into a life of tainted dreams and gumball machines. A lot of people ask me about this line, and basically this is me walking into hip-hop. This is me coming into the industry and starting to really understand what goes on in the industry. And in hip-hop, there are people with good intentions and people with bad intentions, and you meet both sides of the coin when you're involved in the industry, like I was. And I have, I was never on a major or anything like that, but on the level that I am at and was at, I saw a lot of things that made me look at the industry with the side eye, as well as the things that I saw in the mainstream that got reported, and stories that I heard. So the tainted dreams is the aspirations of the people that are not there for the love, that are there just to make a quick buck, that are just there to take advantage of the artistry and the culture that we love so dear. So, and Gumball Machines was, just the bubble gum. It took a spin on, bubblegum rap. What we call bubblegum rap in the underground, which was most mainstream, the flashy suits and all that stuff. We railed against all of that, when we were coming up, because, we considered it not based in skill. We were looking at hip hop as a skilled art form, and there was some mainstream artists, of course, that were very skillful, but a lot of the more popular artists that were going platinum on a regular basis, we looked at as not really being pure to the art form. So I walked into a life of tainted dreams and gumball machines, nestled between the window seat and the drain of the mainstream, watching chaotic daylight stand stern on horizon's table, just watching the chaos of the music industry, like from where I was standing, watching chaotic daylight stand stern on horizon's table, mock the moon with liquidated stars lapped from a ladle. Looking glass has limited view when you're trapped in a label. For this line, I knew some friends. I had a lot of friends that had, record deals, and that had experiences with major labels. And for the ones that weren't quote unquote woke, it was like being trapped. You know what I'm saying? Looking Glass has limited view when you're trapped in a label. Stillborns turn action figures when they're stacked in a cradle. Everybody that's on a label, you're fighting for position. You're jockeying for position. You know, if you're not selling as much, whether you're more talented or not, you don't get the look, you know, that the artist that is selling, you know, a bazillion records gets, even if they're not as skilled as you. So in that sense, you know, it was like a crabs in a barrel kind of thing. You know, stillborns turn action figures when they're stacked in a cradle. Thoroughbreds disoriented from running laps in the stable. Still talking about the industry and, you know, artists being trapped. Thoroughbreds disoriented from running laps in the stable. Loss of direction sparks the search from a map in a fable. Leave me to hunt for scavengers with eye patches and peg legs. This left me, you know, when I was growing up and I was listening to hip hop, this, you know, seeing that and not really enjoying the aspect of hip hop that the mainstream was presenting, in a way, it made me search out the different, you know, it made me search out Freestyle Fellowship. It made me search out Sosa Mischief. It made me search out Razkaz. It made me search out, you know, different hip hop that wasn't being played on the radio, that wasn't, you know, that might have had one video on BET, you know what I'm saying, on Rap City or Yo MTV Raps, but it left me to search for those people and those, you know, gems that I was looking for. So leave me to hunt for scavengers with eye patches and peg legs. Use planks to punish perpetrators so the seas will stay fed. That's a battle reference, just talking about battling whack MCs. I taught that snake in the grass to roll over and play dead. When the seed of the righteous is planted in belly of hybrid companion, they fled with tarnished silver spoon and lips grasp, cherishing the John Hancock of some jock on your hips cast. So the snake in the grass, of course, is, you know, the darkness and evilness of the industry. And, you know, me being having the ego that I did, and, you know, having the confidence as well in the skill that I had, you know, I believe that I could be one of the ones that, you know, turns the table, you know, turns the tide. And so that's what that line was talking about. I taught the snake in the grass to roll over and play dead. When the seed of the righteous is planted, you know, the lyrics that I was spitting, I felt was, you know, the right way to do hip hop, the right way to express myself as an MC. Taught that snake in the grass to roll over and play dead. When the seed of the righteous is planted in belly of hybrid companion, they fled with tarnished silver spoon and lips grasp. When artists, I felt like when artists were in that position, a lot of artists were spoon-fed, you know, notoriety, and spoon-fed, you know, money and all of that stuff. So, you know, that's the silver spoon and lips grasp, cherishing the John Hancock of some jock on your hips cast. The John Hancock just, you know, is a reference to trophies, is a reference to, you know, Grammys and all that. I kind of railed against a lot of that stuff when I was, you know, in the position that I was as an MC back then. Find your own lily pad. This is my territory to tell a story. Tailored in 3 pieces, flag, oxygen, and thesis. I'm nursed by the bosom of a Columbus compass since birth, walking the line of life and rhyme to see which will die first. This is all self-explanatory, I think. It took me a while to realize the fact that I'm cursed with the given gift of anointing, so only the truth can disperse. I felt like in the industry there was a lot of MCs lying. There was a lot of MCs that were talking about a lot of things that they weren't actually doing, and it really made me look at things a little differently, you know, as an artist. And I felt like, you know, because of the depth of my lyrics and the things that I was talking about and the subject matter and how I was talking about those things, that it was almost, you know, looked at as a curse, you know, to have the mind that I had and the ability that I had and utilizing it the way I did was almost a curse, you know, because I felt that I spoke truth. I felt that I was talking about things and doing things that other artists weren't doing. Nowadays, there is a lot of, you know, artists, even prominent artists, that are more self-reflective, that are more emotional on the mic. And there wasn't a lot of that back when I started doing hip hop. When we, the people that, you know, I came up with, when we started, it wasn't as cool, you know, to talk about emotional things as an MC. Everything had to be hard. It was the Timbos and, you know, Fatigue era of real hip hop. And, you know, we were called emo, we were called this and that, and it wasn't looked at as a positive. You know what I'm saying? It was looked at as something that was a curse. So that's the first verse. That is the first verse of Celestial Clockwork. And then we have the hook. The hook goes, it disappoints that conjoined twins are more individuals than most. So I hunt the industry as a phantom till all my words become ghosts. Celestial Clockwork is an elixir, simplifying the obscure picture. So sip the defiled mixture concocted by purity's twisted sister. I think all of that's pretty much self-explanatory. I don't think I need to take a dive into that. So yeah, that's the first verse. And also, let me know what you guys think about, you know, take a little sidebar here about what I was talking about earlier as far as, you know, taking a break from doing the deep dives and giving you guys some interviews. I got some really, like I said, I got some really good interviews lined up. So, you know, I'm trying to mix it up a little bit and keep you guys interested. I don't want to, you know, bang you in the head with Celestial for the next, you know, 2 months or something. And you guys get tired of it and not want to see it anymore. So just let me know in the chat, or, you know, if you're, you know, here checking it out in the playback, just leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about that. But we're going to move on to the second verse. And the second verse goes a little something like this. Now the trees are more beautiful on this side of the mountain. Plush springs run in abundance. I drink direct from the fountain. Though the dream was opaque, the stream was perfectly clear that an acute disorder of paradise would exist if I die here. So lie down your pitchforks and raise your pens to the clouds, till they're struck twice by lightning, sparking styles to move crowds. Fish in the pond can understand the concept of dry land, so they swim aimlessly, unbeknownst to the purpose of which I stand. Don't ask the question if you don't want the answer given. Time is an illustrious liquor. If the candle ceases to flicker, driven to a life, constant death. No choice but one. Shield your eyes from the shine, hide in the shade to evade the rays of the sun. Glaciers become oceans, and boulders become pebbles. Icons become gods, and the birth of a spawn is the birth of a devil. Individual once realized is the birth of a rebel, and I've dug my own depth, and your faith rests in a shovel. The pedestal is crowded, overbearing with trinkets of silver-lined sequence, drowning in sounds of de-evolution. And if it's not your calling to be interlaced with the evolving of hip-hop, then stop is the inevitable solution. So yeah, that's verse 2, and that's probably one of my favorite verses of mine that I've ever written. And again, I think that, you know, this song is really the foundation of this album, as well as, you know, the foundations of a lot of my beliefs in hip hop. Of course, some things have grown, and I'm starting to understand things a little better. You know, I was 18, 19 when I wrote this stuff. So, of course, some things have evolved, but the foundation is, you know, still there. So with the second verse, and thanks him still, yeah, like having the 5 spy back in the mix, I'm glad you're down with it, you know what I'm saying? And I hope everybody else will be too. So, you know, I'm moving kind of fast because, you know, this song has a lot of, you know, self-explanation in it that I don't think necessarily needs to be explained. And, you know, it moves pretty well, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, so moving on to the second verse. Now the trees are more beautiful on this side of the mountain. Now this line just basically, you know, I'm talking about my place in hip hop, my side of the mountain, my side of the street, you know, my side of the coin, the way that I, you know, enjoy hip hop, you know, the artists that I listen to, the artists that I'm friends with and associated with. You know, the trees are more beautiful on this side of the mountain. Plush springs run in abundance. I drink direct from the fountain. Though the stream was opaque, the dream was perfectly clear. I mean, though the dream was opaque, the stream was perfectly clear that an acute disorder of paradise would exist if I die here. So The dream was opaque. The dream about becoming a hip hop star was not necessarily clear because of where we were, how we were considered as far as hip hop artists, the way that people looked at us as far as, MCs. And I have talked about this on, others, but, we were especially weightless here in Columbus, and even the way that we were considered overall to the general public, as backpack rap, as rap that people didn't really want to listen to, as rap that wasn't going to stay around because we weren't talking about the flashy cars and the flashy clothes and all that stuff, and we weren't making, 10,000 a show or 20,000 a show or whatever, $1 million a show, whatever these people was getting paid, because we weren't doing the things that they were doing, and we weren't trying to appeal to the masses. We were just trying to speak our truth, and it just so happens that fans like you guys, latched onto it and allowed us, some of us to make careers out of telling our story and telling our truth. And, we're greatly appreciative of that. But the dream was opaque, but the stream was perfectly clear. So the dream was opaque. The dream of being a hip hop star wasn't clear necessarily, but the stream that I was in, where this, drinking direct from the fountain, drinking direct from the culture, drinking direct from, what I considered real, quote unquote, hip hop at the time. The stream was perfectly clear. An acute disorder of paradise would exist if I die here. So if I went to the, because I had, as I told stories before, I had options to go into that world. And, I believe that if I would have made that choice, there would have been, some kind of weird disorder in paradise, because I would have been doing what I loved, but I wouldn't have been being true to myself if I would have, took the route that other people wanted me to take, and, kind of transform my style and, do things that were really against my character and against, what I consider to be real at the time. So would exist if I die here. So lie down your pitchforks and raise your pens to the clouds. So really just, and I think this is self-explanatory, but saying lie down your pitchforks and raise your pens to the clouds, I was kind of talking to myself about stop trying to rail so much against the mainstream and just do what you do. Stop trying to rail so much against what you don't like, and worry about doing the things that you do like and giving the fans what they want, because at this time I had Unforeseen Shadows out. I had Got Lyrics out, and, writing this song in, before Got Lyrics especially, and after Unforeseen, it kind of, Unforeseen kind of gave me a little battery in my back that let me know that people did care. People wanted to hear what I had to say. People wanted to hear my music. People enjoyed my music, and it was helping them in their lives as well as just as a part of entertainment. And that's really what I wanted to offer when I first came into this. Of course, I wanted the money. I wanted all of the things, but I didn't want to compromise who I was in order to get it. And I've been allowed, thanks to you guys, to continue to speak my truth and, be me on the microphone. And, I thank you guys so much for supporting that. But, lie down your pitchforks and raise your pens to the clouds, till they're struck twice by lightning, sparking styles to move crowds. Fish in the pond can't understand the concept of dry land, so they swim aimlessly, unbeknownst to the purpose of which I stand. Don't ask the question if you don't want the answer given. Fish in the pond. So the fish in the pond, I'm talking about the MCs that are in the mainstream industry. And they're just kind of swimming and not understanding that there is a possibility of being an independent hip-hop artist and, being successful. They don't understand that there is a route that you can take that leads to success that doesn't, that doesn't involve you selling your soul and going against things that you believe in order just to make money. There is a route that can be taken, and, guys like myself, Blueprint, Aesop Rob, Slug, Rob Sonic, so many cats, that I've been associated with, Quell, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of these cats were in that movement and didn't falter for anybody, you know, didn't change who they were for anybody. And that was an amazing thing to be a part of, an amazing thing to, you know, lock arms with these guys and, you know, really take our stand. So, you know, Fish in a Pond can understand the concept of dry land, so they swim aimlessly unbeknownst to the purpose on which I stand. They don't understand why I'm standing here because they don't see the path that we see. They don't have the convictions that we have, and, you know, that our success is our success. We just needed to get our truth out there, and the success was secondary. We all wanted to succeed. We all wanted to be known and wanted people to buy our records, of course, but that's not why necessarily we did it. That's not why we needed to write. We didn't need to write in order for, you know, to pay our rent at the time. We needed to write because, you know, we had this gift, and a lot of us, this is our way to communicate with ourselves and, you know, to tell our story. And we felt like we had stories that were worthy of being told. So don't ask the question. Don't ask why I stand if you don't want the answer given. Time is an illustrious liquor if the candle ceases to flicker. Time can get you drunk if the fire is no longer in you. The longer that you do something, the longer that, especially in hip hop, the longer that you do it without using your heart and using your mind and really being yourself and really being true to who you are, the longer that happens, it can get you drunk and it can really mess you up. Time is an illustrious liquor if the candle ceases to flicker. Driven to a life, constant death. Driven to something that continues to sometimes beat me down, because, you know, it was difficult as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid. Yeah, I had confidence, but it was difficult for, you know, someone like Guru, who I was a huge fan of, to talk down about me as an MC to my face. It was difficult at times for people that I respected in my own city to talk down on me and my guys who were doing things a little differently than them. It was difficult to, you know, be looked at as, because I was a Christian and I started out as a Christian rapper, but once I moved away from being a Christian rapper and just a Christian that rapped, you know what I'm saying, or a rapper that happened to be a Christian, and every line of my song wasn't about Jesus, every line of my song wasn't about angels and the Bible and everything, you know, even the people that I was close with in the church started to look at me in a certain way sometimes, and it was very difficult, you know. So driven to a life, constant death, no choice but one. Shield your eyes from the shine, hide in the shade to evade the rays of the sun. The shine, I'm just, you know, shield your eyes from the shine is basically, you know, kind of staying away from the limelight that was viewed as prominence, that was viewed as, you know, what the people in the industry considered successful, what the people in the mainstream industry considered successful. Driven to a life, constant death, no choice but one. Shield your eyes from the shine, hide in the shade to evade the rays of the sun. Glaciers become oceans and boulders become pebbles, icons become gods, and the birth of a spawn is the birth of a devil. This is just saying, you know, like, you know, big things, you know, like everything kind of falls. Everything, nothing is constant, nothing except change, pun intended. But nothing is constant, everything changes, everything goes through its evolution, and hip hop is no different. Hip hop has gone through an evolution to where an artist like Drake, someone who, you know, I'm not a big fan of his music now, but I'm a fan of, you know, how he came into the industry and did something different from everybody. He wasn't trying to be the tough guy. He was the emotional guy. He was the guy that, you know, talked about women the way that he did. He's the guy that, you know, wasn't always the hard one, didn't have to be. You know, he was okay with being himself, you know, and he's not as good, in my opinion. I mean, I think he's still a good MC, but he understands his formula and knows how to sell records, but that's a whole different subject. But, you know, nothing lasts forever. Everything changes. And, you know, it's gotten to the point now where underground hip hop, as we know it, has become super successful. You know, you have artists like A$AP and Slug and Murs and Tech Nine and LP and Killer Mike and, you know, all these cats that are basically underground hip hop artists. But, you know, they're millionaires, some multi-millionaires. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's through hip hop, and it's all from them being themselves. It's all from them, you know, staying with what they believed in. And the tide has turned to where artists like that can be millionaires. Artists that make hip hop, that are doing something different, that, you know, is not the norm in the eyes of society and in the eyes of the industry, can still be successful. And like I said, I don't know if, you know, I really don't know if, you know, everybody that I mentioned are millionaires, but, you know, I was just saying that to say that they are, you know, exceedingly successful. And they do this full time, and it was never seen that artists that were doing what we were doing, that was doing what Murs and his crew was doing, that was doing what Atmosphere and Rhyme Sayers were doing, that was doing what Weightless, you know, and Def Jux were doing, would be something that would be viable in 10, 20, 30 years. They didn't see that that was possible, and the fact that it is shows that the tide always changes. So just stick to what you're doing and stick to your guns, and your time will soon come, because change is the only constant. That's funny. But yeah, so glaciers become oceans, boulders become pebbles, icons become gods, and the birth of a spawn is the birth of a devil. Individual once realized is the birth of a rebel, and I've dug my own depth, and your faith rests in the shovel. You know, like, I know it's self-explanatory, but, you know, for me, like, this line has always been one of my favorite lines. Like this whole thing, individual once realized is the birth of a rebel, and I've dug my own depth, and your faith rests in a shovel. You know, this is just me telling them, like, I don't need to change who I am. The fact that who I am is what got me here. You know, I've dug my own depth. I've created something, and with the cats that were around me, with Weightless and the people that I was involved with, and all of my friends that I came up in the game with, we dug our own depth. We created our own lane. You know, nobody was making music like Anticon before Anticon. Nobody was doing what Atmosphere was doing before Atmosphere. Nobody was doing what I was doing, or A$AP was doing, or what Soul Position was doing, so on and so forth. Nobody was doing what we were doing before we did it. And because we stuck to our guns and dug our own depth, that's why we're still able to do this. That's why we're still here. And, you know, saying your faith rests in a shovel, just talking to other, you know, MCs that are that are looking for that deal, that are looking for that record label to give them a chance, because they don't have enough faith in the art that they have to invest in it. If you really have faith in what you do, and you really have confidence in what you do as an artist, then you would invest in it. You would put the time, the effort, the money, and things behind your art. And if it's so, and then that way you can write your own check. You can write your own ticket. You know, if a label does approach you and you've put out 5 albums, and, you know, 3 of them have sold, you know, 10,000, 20,000 copies or whatever, or, you know, that you've become successful on your own, then you can call your own shots. You know what I'm saying? You have more leverage to, you know, especially with indie labels, you have more leverage to go in and not have to compromise yourself. You know, so make sure that you dig your own depth when you're dealing with anything in life. Make sure that you are able to stand on your own feet, and you don't need the outside influence of things that you don't agree with. Or if you do have the ability and the option to get that outside influence to be on your team, that you can call the shots and you can make the decisions, and you're in control of your own destiny, and you don't have to depend on them to do something that you've already done, you know, for 5-10 years for yourself. The fact that they know that you don't need them, that gives you all the power in the world. So make sure you dig your own depth. So I dug my own depth, and your faith rests in a shovel. The pedestal is crowded, overbearing with trinkets of silver-lined sequins, drowning in sounds of de-evolution. This is back in early, late 99, early 2000s, and hip-hop was already oversaturated. Hip-hop was already crowded. The pedestal is crowded, overbearing with trinkets of silver-lined sequins. All the people it's already crowded with people that have these grandiose ideas of what successful hip-hop music is, what a successful career is. It's already crowded. Overbearing with sequins. The pedestal is crowded, overbearing with trinkets of silver-lined sequins, drowning in sounds of de-evolution. And if it's not your calling to be interlaced with the evolving of hip-hop, then stop is the inevitable solution. Hip-hop, since its inception, every 5 to 10 years has always gone through a cycle of change. It's always evolved into something different. Not necessarily better all the time, but it evolved into something different. And if you don't want to be part of that evolution into something great, then there's no reason you should be involved. If you're gonna devalue the culture that we love so much, then stay over there with somebody else, do something else. And the crazy thing about hip hop and the crazy thing about all music is, I may not dig trap or this or that, but there is room for all of us to exist. My main issue with a lot of today's music, and a lot of the music back then too, is the content, is how powerful music is and how much people abuse the right to be an entertainer, how much people abuse their status and the privilege it is for hundreds or millions of people to hear your voice and hear what you have to say. Why would you give them something that's not edifying to them? Even if you can have fun and not be degrading to women. You can have fun and not talk about, drugs and guns and stuff all the time. You can have fun. You can make people dance. It's okay. But why give them something that's not gonna brighten their day, that's not gonna help them succeed in life? It just seems like it's a waste of a gift to me. Because there's some artists that are really great and talented rappers. I listen to some of them. I may not always agree with the content that they're spewing, but I'm old enough to discern between, what I'm going to take into my spirit and what I'm not. I can appreciate the art for the art. But when I hear some of the things that a lot of these young people are listening to, they can't discern the art from the reality as much because their brains aren't there yet. Their minds aren't there yet. They haven't lived enough life. So they believe that, this 17, 18-year-old rapper that talks about drugs, guns, gangs, and all that shit that's how life is supposed to be. In order to have fun, in order to be, the man, quote unquote, or the woman or the girl, to be popular, like this is how I gotta walk around. This is how I gotta have guns in my Instagram. I gotta have money, up to my ear. I gotta have, do all this dumb shit that is just, being part of the de-evolution of our culture. And it sucks. You know what I'm saying? It sucks and it's disappointing, but as an artist and as an MC, I make sure that I do my part. And I want to make sure that, and hopefully I'm influencing and helping other people have confidence in doing their part. Yeah, EJ, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're riding away rather than making their own path. Like, dug my own depth, your faith rests in a shovel. They're not digging their own depth. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, like it's a wild thing to look at what hip hop has become, but understand and appreciate the fact that if I don't want to listen to the radio, I don't have to. The fact that we have a la carte music and a la carte movies to where we don't have to eat what they're feeding us. You know what I'm saying? We can push that plate away and make our own plate. We can make our own playlist. We can listen to the artists that we feel are edifying our our lives and our, journeys on this path. So that's what I love about today's music, because if there's something that I don't like, I don't have to listen to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's popular Migos songs and all these songs that are popular that I've never heard. It might be songs that's 5-10 years old. I ain't never heard them because I don't have to. You know what I'm saying? And, the people have the power. And if the people choose to listen to hip hop that feeds their souls and feeds their spirits, and they choose to ignore or, avoid hip hop music that is detrimental to their spirits, then the tides will change again. So, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, man. So I definitely appreciate you guys checking this out. Remember, next week we are having a 5-spot interview with my man Jay Rawls, and he's gonna play us a unreleased joint from his upcoming hip hop jazz instrumental album called Jazz Hop. And it's a really dope piece. It's a really dope interview. We are talking about legacy and the importance of it. And it's a really dope interview. So next week, please join me for that. And, until next time, after this, the next song that I will be going through will be Hollow Shell Cash Clutch. And that's one of my favorite songs as well. Really dope story joint. And it'll be cool to break that one down for you guys. But I will see y'all next week. 5-spot interview featuring my man Jay Rawls. Celestial Clockwork double vinyl on sale now. We are running low, so please get yours. Hopefully I'll have them before the ship date. I put the ship date far out, hoping to have the vinyl, and the plan is telling me I should have it in the next couple weeks, so hopefully I will. But if you haven't ordered yours, please do so. Comes with a vintage poster. The song Say the Word, that was only released in limited quantities, and yeah, you get the instrumentals for free too. You know what I'm saying? So don't sleep on it. And I appreciate you guys checking me out. I will see you guys next week. 5-spot interview featuring my man Jay Ross. Thank y'all for joining me. Beats and B-sides with a Logic. Peace.